So 皆さんこんにちは。私は
Hello, everyone. My name is Jo Young Lee, the lead product designer at Line. I will continue my presentation in English.
I'd like to talk about line design system. And before getting started, I'd like to let you know that this session is fully oriented to design perspective. So if you are looking for some front-end driven, please attend the next session as well. So there will be some fully technical session about design system is there. So before getting started, I'd like to know about audience. So please raise your hand if you are designers. Please. Wow. It's actually way more than my expectations, so it gets me more comfortable. Thank you. I can see you. All right, so let's begin. So what is design systems? Before talking about design system, I think we need to think about what is design guidelines. So in very early days, there was no guidelines at all. We've been there, right? So in second phase, there was document guideline phase. So designers' main tool was Photoshop, and they produced the design guidelines in the format of PDF or PPT, sometimes in the PNG or images like JPEG. That was quite time-consuming. A lot of work to do, even though that is not a part of a product. The third part is Zeppelin guidelines. I'm quite sure that most of us are in this phase. So thanks to Zeppelin and Sketch's the integrations, so now we can export to Zeppelin just by clicking one button. So now we are looking at design system. The big difference is that now we will make new design from prepared component. So some of them might be implemented in code already. Yes, so I can say that actually it is flipped concept. So in design guideline phase, many design teams and designers are focusing on making their products solid and strong and consistent. Actually, that is great, right? But as time goes, as the product grows, we need to think about the next feature, next services, sometimes for next product. But in order to make some new services from the existing components can be really challenging because all the individual teams are focusing on their own thing. So in design system, things are opposite. So now we are focusing on making the common components first, and then we will make unlimited new feature from those common design system. So this is the concept. And I'd like to let you know about the basic structure of design system. And I can say that this is not that special structure of line design system, but kind of a common thing in the field. So there is a minimum block, which is called the element. For example, in this image, we can say the avatar image can be an element. By combining some elements, for example, avatar images and text area and background area can make into component. So combining the components actually make pages like lines the first step. So in there, we can see there is tab navigation at the top and chat list, friends list at the bottom. And at the very bottom, there will be the bottom navigation. So all of those components are ended up in the page, so which is the final version of a design which is user can use. So once it's done, everyone can be really happy. For planners and PMs, they can focus on business goals more than before. And for designers, for sure, they can improve the quality of design. They can improve the consistency level of each element and component and pages as well. And for developers and QA people, they can improve they can focus on core logic instead of making same UI elements again and again. They can reduce some QA resources because some of them are already reviewed in the common components. But we need to think about the real situation that there's no chance to start design system for the first release service. So what I'm saying is that always there is history or legacies in certain products. So for Line, do you remember the screens? So this is when Line first released the market about 8.5 years ago. So at the time, we don't really have as much spec as now. So we only have chat and friends, profile, channel room, and call. That is pretty everything about Line. So Line first released in 2011, June 23rd. So after 8 years, now our lines are something like this. It's more like super app, right? Now we have news, we have a timeline feed, we have a home tag, channel room, camera feature, pay, fintech apps. We also support some cryptocurrencies market as well. So as a designer, actually I'm not sure that we really revisit every component or every element in terms of design. So I think that there might be something lost in between those 8 years. So another situation we have is like this. So our offices is getting bigger and bigger. So those 5 offices are our top 5 branches in Line. Whenever there is a new designer joined, so he or she kept asking us like, hi, I am a newbie. Where is the design guideline? What a decent question to ask, but unfortunately, the answer is always no. So let's go to the problems. So to find out what is problem behind of the Line design system or the design teams without design system, we need to interview the real users. In this case, our main users are Line designers. So we have conducted several research to find out what makes Line designers special and to find out what to get the expectations of their previous feeling of Line design system. They might have some different perspectives as well. And most importantly, we wanted to know that is there any difference between their expectation, something like criteria about their daily jobs, between them and the company's, the leadership's criteria. So surprisingly, what we have found as a result is something like this. So we found that there are several, sometimes too much redundant work in our daily life. So for example, screen capture, draw wireframing, and designing buttons and illustrations, which is exactly same object for several times. We also design some components which can be exactly the same. Those things are quite huge, like this amount of. And because of that, we cannot do some important things like creative disk. So only 10% are assigned to those things. Quite serious. So another problems are like this. So inconsistency in icons. So we are not quite sure what is the latest icon for share. We found actually 50 and more share icons in one app. We also found 500 and more distinct color values in one app, which name is Line Messenger. So do you know the reason why these things happen? I think that one reason can be like this. So we are not sure, right? So this might not be the only reason for that, this result, but maybe some new designer join and they cannot find the definite guideline, so they just capture one page from website and they try to find out which is the favorite green for this guy. We also found many UX patterns. For example, tabs can be so various like this. So we don't think that we need to design every component again and again for every product. This is really a situation in line. So let me rephrase. So our problems are a lot of repeated work, inconsistency of resources, inconsistency of UX, and no centralized design management for resource. So now it's time to talk about our goal. So what is the goal of line design system? So our goal is like this: work efficiently and get extra time to focus on more important things. So as a result, we can improve our 70% of our regular work can be improved by LDS. LDS is stands for line design system. And for the extra time, which is 30%, we can use that time to focus on impact, some new opportunities, or some standout feature. So, ultimately and eventually, design system can make the whole process shorter like this. So the focus, the key idea about design system is in here. So we are not making design system only for designers, but also for developers and engineers and the people who are responsible for the product. So by doing that, we can earn that extra time at the end. We can use that extra time to do more, to make something is strong, more competitive. And the answer is that how can we achieve those goals? So this is the main area, main category about our contents. So in the left side, there is very foundational level, which is principle. And the right side, there's UI components, which is the most critical part of line design system. So I will go through each part from now on. So let's talk about principle. So so those are the 6 principles in line design system. And the one thing our team keep in mind is that we wanted to make it as clear as possible, as practical as possible. So whenever there is a conflict or argument about some new feature, we can always go back to this page and then talk to the others, like, we are not gonna go this way because there is this principle. For example, there is chat first principle in this page, so we are not gonna go this way because that feature is against to our previous chat feature. Those discussions can be achieved by this principle. That's what we were trying to do. So we are not users. There should be clear primary task. Always chat should be first. We are pursuing reliable design, and lines design should be continuous experience instead of independent and disconnected experience. We should respect for legacy. Those are our core mindset as designers. So let's move on to colors. So as I said before, we found that 500 and more distinct color values are in Line Messenger. And after our hard work and the effort from the team, we can summarize it into 30 colors. And we didn't stop there. So actually, we gave them name for each color. So instead of using FFF, now we label them like line white. So having that name is not meaningful only for sketch libraries. So what I'm trying to say is that we made those variables to the color extension in Xcode. So what developer can see in their real situations is like this. So I want to say something. So here you can see the color extensions, UI color. There is line white, which is predefined variables. But if there is old code like low color value like this, developers can see so many error messages inside of their Xcode. So actually, this is quite aggressive way. So many developers are quite annoyed because of these error messages. And as a result, we can remove every raw color value in a quite short time. The big thing has rolled out, which is dark mode, right? So we need to think about dark mode as well in the color systems. So actually there is a TF who is in charge of dealing with the new feature from each platform, which is iOS and Android. And this year, the top priority is dark mode. When we also think about line theme in the same time, right? Do we really need to design dark mode for every theme in line market? It will take forever. So our discussions, our results are like this. So we thought that we don't need to support all the theme, but we will support the default theme only. And what we're gonna do as a designer is that we will redesign the dark mode only. But there's one developer who is in charge of that TF, dealing with the new feature of each part, each platforms. He introduced us that maybe we need to make it into semantic. So as a designer, we were not that familiar with that terms. So semantic means meaningful, and it has some context in it. So many users, designers and developers can aware of the uses of that color. So as a result, now we have semantic colors in line. It is already implemented. So we have 100 list of semantic colors. The things are like this. So in one semantic color value, there is 2 sets of line design systems color. So everything are already in there. So developers and designers don't need to worry about what is the specific dark mode color for this component or this element, because it is already there. So let me rephrase. So this is the progress of the color system. So in early days, there was no color system at all. So everything about color is raw color value. So we labeled them into LDS color, such as line blue 500. And for now, in order to support dark mode, we made them into semantic. So actually, my ideal scenario for this one is that it has already rolled out, so please download to the latest version. But actually, it hasn't released, so please wait for our next version. So it is already implemented. So next version, you can see dark mode version of line. Accessibility. This is related achievement of our design system. So we found that we need to think about people who has difficulties in sight. So with that set of rule, so we are not going under the level like 11 point for a font, and we are not going under 4.5 to 1 contrast ratio, which is about foreground and background color. Rainbow colors are already made because of the needs for feature services or some family services outside of line, because we know that 30 colors cannot be enough to support our future needs. So all of those are already in our documentation. So I think I've talked too much, so let's watch some concept video about our iconography. Okay, thanks for watching. So we set a concept for these iconographies, which is it should be simple, it should be clear, and it should be as universal as possible. So now we have 200 and more basic iconographies inside of our design system. So now there's no chance to talk about what is the latest version of share icon because it is already there. So they just can download one from this library, and so everything can be constant. We also support the icon mode version for icons as well. So next part is components. So what you can feel in this process is that we started from principle and we went to color and iconographies, and now it is components. So I recommend you to do this way, same like this, because from the foundation level to the practical level can always has good results. So, but I think making and having a dedicated member about design system can be really challenging. So if you are lack of resources, just focus on components first, because this is the essential part. So those are our top priorities in terms of the list. So we have top navigation, bottom navigations, buttons, dialog, messaging, list, empty, tab, card, and modal. And so much more is coming to this list. So one thing I need to let you know is that, yeah, for sure, so having and making those beautiful components, having so much, some discussions about what is wrong or what is right, so what is the perfect implementation of the craft is really important, but also having a single name, universal name for each component can be super important. For example, so now there is bottom navigation for this part, but in Android, there is another name, which is app bar bottom. In iOS, also there's another name, which is tab bar. But for designers, we are not familiar for both of them, so we ask them what do you prefer for those names? So we discussed a lot to fix which is the best name for each component. So whenever there is conflict, we followed our main users, who is line designers. So we finalized into those names. So please consider having a universal and common name is also really important. This is a snapshot of when designer downloads the line design system from Sketch Cloud. So they can search its components from this list. And thanks to Sketch for the latest version, now there is component panel at the left side in Sketch 60. So you can search any keyword about the component. So it became way better, way easier than before. And as a result, the designers can make simple pages like this 10x faster than before. So this is the Home tab, which is the latest one. And the important thing is that it only took 2 minutes to make this, to reproduce these screens, but that time can be same for me and for new designer who just joined this company. So this is the key feature of UI component. And in this phase, we need to think about, so having on-sketch libraries doesn't assure that can be implemented exactly same as code, right? So because even though there is shared library inside of Sketch, even though there is one Zeppelin guidelines, if that is not implemented in code, there can be friction. So we have our standalone app internally, which is called LDS demo. In this demo app, designers and developers can see and learn what is the latest version of line design systems component, and then they can refer to those lists, and then they can use those components in their real project as well. So it is constantly updating. So those two lists are not exactly the same. I mean, Sketch is always bigger, more than LDS demo apps components list. So in this page, I'd like to move on to interaction design guidelines. So we also have interaction designers in line. So they are focusing on making something interactive like this. So yeah, for some micro animations, some routine animations, some motion, some transitions, there is some professional who are fully in charge of that. So there are also some principles for this part. So interaction design should be informative, it should be delightful, it should be feasible, and lastly, it should be consistent. The one thing I'd like to address about this is that some of you may feel like weird about this because it is like principle inside the principle, right? So the reason is that I started this project for interaction guidelines only. So which means that I started really small and I share broader to the people around me, some engineers, some designers in out of the office, I mean another office, another countries. So by doing that, I can get more attention. And as a result, we can get full support. So maybe we need to make it bigger. So maybe we need to think about our whole design languages, not only for interaction design. So I can say that this is the beginning of the design system. And one achievement from line interaction design guideline is something like this. So we found that, so we always seeking for making the curve beautiful. So we are seeking for the perfect animation curve. So in iOS, there is spring with damping, the syntax. And in Android, there is overshoot interpolator. But those two values are slightly different. So we wanted to make it more consistent in animation as well. So we researched a lot and we found one way to manipulate those interpolator, I mean Android's interpolator, into more similar version of iOS. And then we label them as line spin curve. So now we have exactly the same feelings of animations in implementation level. So iOS and Android versions, code snippets are also supported in the documentations. So I will introduce the documents at the last part. So they don't need to do double work for micro-tuning for animation feature like this, because there are some best cases for handling those model, something like that. Yeah. So the last part is living document. So we need to think about how to share line design system internally more effectively. So our decisions is like this. So we have some beautiful website internally, which is design.linecop.com. But so in here, every resources I showed you are accessible in this one single site. So there are many options like wikis or PDF version, or we can just make it into just sketch files and share it. But the reason that we decided to make a website is that we want it to make as accessible as possible. And in the same time, we want some authority as one single source. So I think share it into wikis or some collaboration tools can be really easy to share and can get many feedback as possible. But making it into solid work is really needed for us as designers and as for the users of Line corporations. So instead of showing you every content of inside, I just brought here some example of each steps. So in Elements tab, we have color and typographies and iconographies are in there. In component sections, so at the very top, user can access to Sketch Cloud by just clicking this URL, and they can install this libraries into their Sketch app. And you can see there are several lists at the left side, which is constantly growing. Now it is going over like this. So, and also there is UX guidelines inside of line design system. The reason that we divided UX guidelines from the UI components is that sometimes there is more than components. For example, search or select, share, modal, delete. Those kind of actions are some more than components. So some components, so what I'm saying is that those actions have several components inside of their pattern. So we need to some best case how to implement those actions in line. So this can be the best case of each actions. So now in the bottom line, so there is interaction guideline that I showed you before here. So yes, that's all for now. I think this is quite sudden end, but I hope that this presentation encourages you to have your own design system when you go back to your company. Thank you for your paying attention. Thank you.